So welcome, everyone. Honorees, families, friends, distinguished guests, alumni, students, faculty, staff. Amazing. It's a great weekend. It's a great weekend for so many reasons. It's homecoming where, again, we can, for those who want, be in person. It's a great weekend because so much is going well at the U of A and the college when we're in times when there are a lot of challenges. So it's nice to be able to celebrate those victories. And depending on how you read the sports headlines and how much you care, the football team may actually win by default. Talking about that in 50 years. Remember 20 losses and then? So it's another reason it's a great weekend, and that's that we do the Lifetime Achievement Awards. And this is one of the events that is very special for our college and a chance to recognize those who shape the profession and who are the models for the students who come here. And the awards are in the hallway here, and it's a central hallway, and you see students stopping and reading and looking at the awards. And it's important to us and to the entire community. We're in a profession that is constantly evolving and changing. Indeed, I like to think this college has had a hand or two in that. And one kind of change, and I think a good one, is the university is now regularly including a land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of Indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to the O'odham and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign Native nations and Indigenous communities through education, offerings, through partnerships, and through community service. So we're gathered here with friends and colleagues spanning generations to celebrate three alumni, our 2021 Lifetime Achievement Award winners. Moments like this, we seek to define and summarize the contributions of individuals over the course of their lives. And the people we recognize, if we really tried to summarize all that they've done, it would be a very, very long program and a long list. What I hope you come away with after hearing more about today's honorees is not only what they have done for our profession and their communities, but the way each was called and answered the call to service. So I've been thinking a lot about service, wondering best how to teach our students and serve others, not only in these strange times, but more generally in these challenging political times, not just COVID, but I think the challenges for universities, for law schools, for all educational institutions, indeed, for all of us right now are profound, and service is a central part of the answer. Today's honorees are outstanding examples of that answer. I never had the pleasure of meeting Justice Frank Gordon, but I know about his legacy of government and public service, first in Wickenburg, then in the Arizona Supreme Court, then in private practice. Even after his term as Chief Justice, Justice Gordon answered the call for an entirely new life of service, helping lawyers and judges in emerging democracies build their nations in ways that reflect the core principles of justice and equality. These ideas resonate deeply in our hallways, in our physical and our digital, in our local and in our global hallways. Justice Gordon gave deep and critical meaning to the rule of law. The willingness to undertake this work when he didn't have to, when it brought him no personal, tangible benefit, is one of the core characteristics of his life's work. And indeed, I see that as a thread, a common thread among our three honorees. We're proud that he answered the call to serve the state and indeed the world. I've had some wonderful time in recent years to talk with Judge Renner Collins, but I knew of him well before we first met. Students who worked in his chambers invariably shared stories about the respect he extended to every person in his courtroom. His colleagues commented on the decency, humility, and humanity that informed his interactions with others. Like Frank Gordon, Renner Collins' service goes far beyond what is required of his formal job or of any of us. His service expresses his faith, his purpose, and his unshakable belief in human dignity. We're so thankful that Renner Collins answered the call. Serve. Tonight we honor someone I think of as a force of nature, also known as Dee-Dee Samet. Dee-Dee and I have worked together on a number of projects. I have gone to her for advice and in the time I have been dean. And so I know firsthand of the skill, energy, and humor she brings to every setting. Dee-Dee's involvement in local, state, and national efforts opened doors for countless women as an ally and as a model. Her legal leadership is important, but her path-breaking also made it possible for others to imagine how they can serve the community and the profession. Helping others find joy and satisfaction in serving, as Dee-Dee has, and I've seen personally, is an act of generosity to us all. Before I cede the podium to Barbara Atwood and the members of the awards committee who will conduct the rest of tonight's program, let me also acknowledge the previous Lifetime Award winners in our midst. And I've seen many. Let's see if people I haven't seen are now here. Justice Feldman, Stanley Feldman. I didn't yet see you here. Stanley? Zoom. He's zooming. Thank you. Judge Stephen McNamee. Judge McNamee is here. Thank you. Professor, colleague, friend, and mentor, Andy Silverman. Burr Udall. Lynn Wood Dusenberry, behind Burr, there we go. Lynn is a neighbor, so we get to see each other on regular mornings, walking one way up or down the hill. And Judge Frank Zapata. Judge Zapata, where are you sitting? I saw you. There we are, over here. And, which makes perfect sense, Professor Barbara Atwood. Well, stand if you can and be recognized. So today we recognize present and past award winners. And with that, Barbara, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. So it's just great to see you. And I think we have a number of people on Zoom to celebrate these three outstanding alumni today. It's a joy to be a part of this. I've been on the Lifetime Achievement Awards Committee for a number of years. And I want to introduce the committee members that nominated these individuals, and then they were enthusiastically endorsed by the full faculty. The committee members this year were Megan O'Leary, who's our Director of Development and Alumni Affairs. Megan, I don't know where you are. Oh, they're out there, this triumvirate. And my colleagues, Professors Mona Emil Andy Silverman, Melissa Tatum, James Hopkins, and Tony Massaro. This award was actually the brainchild of Dean Roger Henderson. Roger served as dean from 1977 to 1983, but he stayed on the faculty, thank goodness, and was a beloved torts professor and insurance law professor for many years. And in 1998, he came up with the idea of developing this award that would be divorced from fundraising. He wanted it to be a pure award that recognized achievements of distinguished alums. He structured it so that it's available to someone who's at least 25 years out from graduation. So, time enough to do something wonderful in your careers. And he designed it so that it was marking or celebrating exemplary careers in public service, in the legal profession, in the academic world. He wanted it to be broad. And the first year that the faculty endorsed this idea, we selected 12 individuals. 4 of them are in these great big photographs behind me. And that was actually the brainchild of Dean Tony Massaro to have them in this lobby so that students in particular, could see them. And then the plaques describing their achievements are in this corridor, as Dee Miller was describing. Roger wanted it to be the kind of award where students would be able to look at and read these bios and be inspired to understand that these people were once first-year students being worried about professors calling on them, worried about exams, worried about whether their JD would lead to a job. But all those people were once in that position. And I think Roger's idea has been really, really successful. We've loved honoring these people, and I was very honored myself to be one of the recipients a few years ago. In your programs, you can see all the recipients on the back, and I'm so glad that there are several people who are here tonight. Each time there were 12 people selected that first year, and then every year after that, under the design of this award, we can select up to 3 people as recipients. And they are nominated by the committee, and then they go to the full faculty, and the faculty has always been enthusiastic in the selection that has come to them. But it is definitely sort of the affirmation of the faculty for these individuals. And I think I really do encourage you after this ceremony to go to sort of wander down that hallway and look at the bios. They're fascinating. So we'll get on with the presentations. We're going to make the presentations in alphabetical order, the way they are in the program. I will present the award to Judge Renner Collins. Professor Email will present the award to Justice Frank Gordon. And Professor Silverman will present the award to Dee-Dee Samet. So for me personally, it's a real treat to be able to present the award to Judge Collins. Renner, I've discovered now is how he really likes his name to be pronounced. Your son, Renner, and I started law school together in 1973. Back then, many of us were kind of scruffy, unkempt, anti-war agitators. Renner, he was reserved, thoughtful, kind, and somehow more mature than the rest of us, but not in years. I'm sure I'm older than Renner, but in his demeanor, that may be in part because he was one of 2 African-American students in the class at that time. And I feel that he is exactly the same as he was in law school. I if your family wanted to hear stories about you going to wild parties and doing crazy things in the streets, I can't tell you any of those stories. There really aren't any. I think, well, the rest of us maybe were doing some of those things. Renner was home studying. He was so mature, he decided to finish law school early. So he chose to leave the rest of us behind and to graduate in 1975. He embarked on his wonderful career, first as a prosecutor, then city court magistrate, then state court judge, then ultimately an Article III judge on the federal bench. He's had his share of notorious cases, sometimes cases that triggered nationwide attention, lots of news coverage. And even when he's in his court at the center of public controversy, Judge Collins has kept his cool, and he's not been afraid to go up against the state legislature here in Arizona, or even the Department of Homeland Security. Karen Adam, who has also had a distinguished judicial career, couldn't be here. She's on the other side of the country, but she shared these thoughts about Renner. It's their time on the juvenile court bench together. And she sent this to me in an email, and I said to her, I'll just read it. Renner was an extraordinary colleague and supervisor. He was presiding judge at juvenile court, and he knew everyone's name and family names, from the judges to the facilities folks. He'd make a loop every single day saying hello, asking questions that were very specific to each person, like, how'd your son do in that baseball game? Did your mom handle the surgery okay? He was and is the real deal. No pretense, snobbery, no rogue feet. And that's about the best compliment you can get from a colleague on the bench. Let me read the inscription on the plaque. Renner C. Collins was born in Malvern, Arkansas, and received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Arkansas Polytechnic College, now Arkansas Tech University, in 1973. He earned his Juris Doctorate from the University of Arizona College of Law in 1975, one of two African-American students in his class. After graduation, Judge Collins turned to the public domain as a young lawyer, serving as deputy county attorney with the Pima County Attorney's Office. In 1981, Judge Collins began his judicial career as city magistrate with the Tucson City Court. From 1985 to 1988, he served as judge pro tem for the Pima County Superior Court. And in 1988, he launched a decade of service as Superior Court judge. Judge Collins was nominated in May 1998 by President Bill Clinton to the United States District Court for the District of Arizona. He was confirmed by the Senate in July 1998 and received commission in August 1998. In September 2013, Judge Collins became Chief Judge of the District Court for the District of Arizona, the first African American to serve in that position. He assumed senior status in March 2019 and continues to hear cases. Judge Collins has presided over many notable cases during his years on the federal bench. One such case was the longstanding school litigation, Flores versus Arizona, in which he ordered the Arizona legislature to pay for adequate English language instruction in public schools or face mounting monetary sanctions. Judge Collins also presided over the original criminal trial and retrial involving Lonnie Swartz, a Border Patrol agent who faced manslaughter charges for the fatal shooting of a teenage Mexican boy across the border. In addition, he heard the case of United States versus Scott Warren, in which the human rights activist Warren was acquitted of charges of illegally harboring undocumented immigrants. Judge Collins, known as an impartial and conscientious jurist, has been recognized by local and statewide organizations for his many achievements. He received the Distinguished Alumnus Award from the University of Arizona in 2008. Judge Collins and his wife, Teresa Collins, have 2 children and 5 grandchildren and view family and religion as of central importance. Judge Collins, would you please come up to accept your award?
They told me I have 5 minutes. I'll try to use all of them. Thank you to Dean Miller, to the committee, to the faculty of the law school. I can't express in words how grateful I am to receive this award. I've always believed that no one is a success by themselves. We need someone to help us along the way. And I've had many people to help me during this journey of mine. Whatever success I've had, it's been shared with many, many people. First with my mother, Juanita Davey, who raised me and instilled in me hard work and traditional values. My wife, Teresa, who's here with us tonight, who's been by my side throughout this whole journey and who has encouraged me all the time. So thanks to both my mother and to Teresa, my wife. Thank you. I want to dedicate gratitude to some other people I want to talk about for just a moment. I want to dedicate gratitude to Judges Richard and Robert Wilson, who first planted the idea of being a judge in my head back in the late 70s. I want to thank a man named Grover Banks, who in 1981 was the president of the NAACP chapter here in Tucson. And he called me on the phone in 1981. I was in Arkansas with my wife. We're having a vacation. We were actually looking for a home in Arkansas. I was looking for a job in Arkansas because my wife kept telling me, I had told her that I'd only be in Arizona. We'd only been in Arizona for 3 years. I have no memory of this. She says she does, and that's all that counts. So we're there, and Grover told me there was a city magistrate judge opening in Tucson. He called me on a Wednesday, and the application was due on Friday. He made arrangements for me to be able to call into City Hall on Friday, and someone filled out my application for me because in 1981, there was no fax machine, there was no overnight mail. I said, Teresa, I was thinking about moving back to Arkansas, so we had a discussion about whether I should come back to Tucson or not. And her father gave us some very great advice. He said to her, the same moon that shines over Melbourne, Arkansas, shines in Tucson, Arizona, too. And in discussing that, we both realized that we wouldn't really be that far away from home and that I could go ahead and try and make my journey. I got the job as a city magistrate. I did it for a couple of years. Then I went back to the county attorney's office and stayed there until 1985. In 1985, Judge Tom Lehan called me and asked me to be a judge pro tem. And I started that on May 1st of 1985. And I remember the day for this reason. He gave me a jury trial the first day. That's not why I remember. It's because of the 2 lawyers that were involved. We picked the jury. The prosecutor asked the question, state your name. And the defendant's attorney said, objection, hearsay. I said, oh. And it went on that way all day long. I had made the biggest mistake of my life in losing that job and going to be in Superior Court. But I survived it, and that was the worst day. Everything has been great since then. I was a pro tem for 3 years, and I was trying to become a full retained Superior Court judge. And I put my paperwork in. I was going to have an interview with Governor Moffett. This was in 1988, and I'm at an NAACP dinner, and a man named Hank Ryan is emceeing the program. And he says to all the people there, probably 500 or 600 people, write a letter to the governor urging her to appoint Renner Collins to the bench. And he gave me the details of how to do so. And quite a few of them did. I was sort of mortified, but when I had my interview with the governor, she said, hey, I got a ton of letters on your behalf. What did you do? It turned out very, very well. She appointed me in 1988. And in 1998, when Judge Browning took senior status, I was nominated by Senator Kyle, the late Ed Pastor. They gave my name to President Clinton. And I was successful, confirmed by the Senate, and began as a federal district court judge. I got to join the likes of Frank Zapata, John Rowe, Alfredo Marcus, Bill Browning here in Tucson, in Phoenix, Judge Broomfield, Judge McNamee, who's also here tonight, Ross Silver, P.G. Rosenblatt, Earl Carroll. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, Roger Strang. We were the judges when I first started. They were great people to work with. I'll tell you one funny story. Earl Carroll said, my very first judges meeting, we were going to have a program to decide whether we're going to honor someone with a cash award. Our clerk had done an outstanding job, giving a cash award of $1,000. It was actually supposed to come from the government. And Earl said, why don't we all get together and give $1,000 each, and he can have a $10,000 award? I'm going like, what have I done? I can't afford to give anybody $1,000. But that was Bloomfield just shut on the side. It's been a great journey. I've met a lot of nice people. I've worked with a lot of great people. I see some of those people here in the audience. I want to say particular thanks to my wife, Teresa, to my friends, Lee and Marty Fleming. They've been friends for well over 30 years. And whenever I think I'm going to get the big head, they take care of it. My assistant, Tara Reed Hall. Tara's here tonight also with her husband, Renner. She's been with me for over 30 years. I've had a number of great law clerks, a couple who are here in the audience today. I saw Isaac Rothschild earlier. I see Renner Arabia here also. My law clerks have always made people think I'm very, very smart. So my key to being successful is always hire people smarter than you are. I want to say thank you. And to Karina Eklund, thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mona Email, and I'm a member of the faculty here at the College of Law. And it is my great honor and privilege to have the opportunity to spend a couple of moments telling you about the life of Frank Gordon. I'm limited to only a couple minutes, as we all are. So I thought I would touch on a few of the things that are not listed in the plaque, or just briefly, and tell you a little bit about Justice Gordon. Justice Gordon grew up in Kingman at a time when ranching and farming and mining supported this small rural community. When he graduated from Mojave County Union High in 1947, it was still the only high school in the county. He moved on from a small, tiny place like Kingman and went to Stanford University, where apparently he dated Sandra Day O'Connor for some short period, because shortly after that, he met and married his wife, Joan Gipe. After a law degree here, Frank moved his family and returned to Kingman so he could practice law with his father. They were two of just 5 practicing attorneys in Mojave County. In a journal called The Legends of the Judiciary, there's a quote. It says, at that time, and for several years thereafter, if both father and son walked down the street in Kingman and met one of the other lawyers in town, they had a quorum of the Mojave County Bar present. There are many achievements that I'm going to read to you from the plaque. I would like to mention that in his later years, when Justice Gordon was reflecting on those things that he had done that were most important to him, that meant the most to him, he said he'd like to be remembered for making the state's court system more accessible to the average Arizonan, for helping to reduce the chances of juvenile and adult offender recidivism. His work reflects that legacy. To improve accessibility during his tenure on the Arizona Supreme Court, They created roughly 150 member commission called the Commission on the Courts. It charged the commission with developing recommendations to make sure state courts were less expensive and less confusing. The group made 50 recommendations. 37 of those had been implemented by the time Frank Gordon retired from the bench. I should also mention that another thing that the Arizona Supreme Court established was what it called learning labs, or learn labs, excuse me. And this was a project that spanned across the Arizona correctional system after the court learned that 60% of the prisoners in Arizona couldn't read above a third grade level. Partnering with IBM and Catalina High School in Tucson, the court arranged to test the IBM program with the juvenile offenders in Pima County, as well as at-risk students in high school. The students on average raised their reading performance levels by 3 grades in just half a year, which I think is quite amazing. In his reflections upon Justice Gordon, the Arizona Supreme Court Chief Justice Robert Brutenau said, Justice Gordon was the embodiment of what it means to be a judge to a generation of Arizonans. He described Frank as a true gentleman who never forgot his small town Arizona roots, despite presiding over some of the most high-profile proceedings in Arizona history. The impact of his words to modernize and improve Arizona's justice system shapes our courts today. And with that, I will read to you the many, many accomplishments of Frank Gordon Jr. Frank Gordon Jr., an esteemed justice on the Arizona Supreme Court and consummate public servant, grew up in Kingman, Arizona, then a small rural community. He received a Bachelor of Arts from Stanford University in 1951 and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Arizona in 1954. After earning his law degree, Justice Gordon returned to Kingman to practice law with his father in the law firm of Gordon and Gordon at a time when they were 2 of only 5 practicing attorneys in Mojave County. At age 33, Justice Gordon was elected to the Mojave County Superior Court. Only 13 years later, Governor Raul Castro appointed him to the state's highest court, the first appellate court appointment using the merit selection process established in 1974. He served as Chief Justice from January 1987 to December 1992. As Chief Justice, Gordon presided over the impeachment trial of Governor Evan Mecham in 1988. In 1990, Gordon received an American Bar Association Pro Bono Publico Award for his efforts on behalf of the poor through his stewardship of the Volunteer Lawyers Program in Phoenix. After retiring from the Arizona Supreme Court in 1992, Justice Gordon joined the Phoenix firm of Rausch, McCracken, and Guerrero. But he remained active in public life. The United States District Court Judge Paul Rosenblatt appointed Justice Gordon to mediate a dispute between the Native American tribes and the state of Arizona about gaming. In February of 1993, Justice Gordon endorsed a proposal put forth by the tribes to allow them to operate slot machine casinos in their territories. In 1994, Justice Gordon traveled to Belarus at the behest of the U.S. State Department to meet with a committee of parliamentarians of their parliament to evaluate their constitution and help the country's transition from a totalitarian socialist state to a democracy. In 2006, Justice Gordon joined people-to-people ambassadors of the American Bar Association, and in that role, he traveled to China to meet with lawyers, judges, and embassy officials to discuss the rule of law. Justice Gordon's autobiography, From a Boy with a Horse to a Man with a Gavel, was published in 2016. He died on January 6, 2020 in Phoenix. And at this point, I'm going to turn the microphone over to his daughter, Candy Lander. Thank you so much.
It's with great honor that I, the daughter of Frank X. Gordon Jr., Candy Lander, receive my father's Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm grateful for the University of Law here in Arizona. My mother, Joan Gordon, wanted to be here, but at age 92, her appendix burst and she was unable to make the trip. She's moved in with us permanently in Kingman, and I know she would have wanted to thank all of the people who were involved to put this on. My dad grew up in Kingman. He attended Stanford and then graduated from law school right here. As he began college, Frank Gordon, his father, instructed him and made a point out of taking time every day to get to know someone. So some of the people that he was involved with were students, faculty, staff, and he should extend himself into the lives of others. This is a rare trait even today, perhaps non-existent in life today with the world of phone calls, texts, and emails. Graduating from U of A, the same wise father had a law office in Kingman that had the privilege of the first air conditioning. Dad was told, don't be upset if a customer comes in and sits down just to feel air conditioning. They may not be clients now, but perhaps later. He put a high priority on serving people. Whether at church serving God or his community through Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, Legal Aid, UMOM, the homeless shelter, Native Americans, or the Frank Gordon Literacy Center that mandated learning to read, Frank Gordon helped people. Perhaps you were some of the people he invested in. I know I was. He taught me how to love and to serve people. Every evening, holiday or vacation, my dad would show up at home with 2 briefcases full of the many briefs for the next day agenda. There were no computers. Once home, he had set his work aside. He would have dinner, talk to us as a family member, play a game, help with our studies, and would help us get into bed. One unique thing that I recall that he did for us as a family member in Kingman was he always left the judge's chamber door open. And if we wanted to pop into his office, the courtroom, to talk, we could see him at his bench and he could see us, and he would take a brief recess. Never forget to take time for others. Perhaps that will become your legacy as well. Again, thank you for honoring my father, Frank Gordon, and all the other worthy recipients here. My family and my mother are very proud of you honoring him.
Lifetime Achievement Award is given to U of A law graduates who have contributed to the legal and general community in very special ways. When you consider all of the things that Dee-Dee Samet has done and still does, you almost feel the award was established for her. I know you will be impressed, as I was, when I read the inscription on the plaque of her many activities. I've had the pleasure of serving on some committees with Dee-Dee. When Dee-Dee joins a committee or a board, she immediately gets involved and becomes a very active member. Years ago, I rode in a car with Dee-Dee to Phoenix for a meeting. At that time, I didn't know Dee-Dee very well. It was also the beginning days of cell phones. I didn't have one, but Dee-Dee did. All the way to Phoenix, she was on the cell phone, primarily talking with folks about some business on committees or boards she was on. I will say I was impressed. Not only was Dee-Dee taking a day to attend a meeting in Phoenix of a committee that she was on, but spending the trip up there to deal with other committees and boards she is on. Her community work never ends. Dee is full of ideas, has lots of energy, and is willing to help in any way she can. I am currently chair of a committee at Southern Arizona Legal Aid, the fundraising committee. And when we were forming the committee, the first name that came up that we definitely needed on the committee was Dee-Dee Samet. And it was probably the best decision the committee has made. Dee-Dee is full of ideas, has lots of energy, and as I said, willing to help any way she can. And she sure is good at raising money. Thank you, Dee-Dee. Now, I think, let me now read the inscription on the plaque. And as I said, I think you will be as impressed as I was. I don't really know how she has time to do all this, but some way she does. The inscription reads, Dee-Dee Samet earned her Bachelor of Arts and Juris Doctor from the University of Arizona, graduating from the College of Law in 1963, one of only 3 women in her class. For over 5 decades, she has devoted her law practice to public benefits work on Social Security, disability, supplemental security income, and workers' compensation. She's a certified specialist in workers' compensation and is past co-chair of the Alternative Dispute Resolution section and the Workers' Compensation section of the Arizona State Bar. Since 1985, Samet has been a judge pro tem with the Pima County Superior Court. Samet's record of professional service at the national, state, and local levels is extraordinary. She served as president of the Arizona State Bar in 1999, 2000, the third woman to hold that position. In that role, she was a member of the Executive Council of the National Conference of Bar Presidents. A member of the Arizona State Bar Board of Governors and the Arizona State Bar Foundation Board for many years, Samet also served as president of the statewide Arizona Women's Lawyers Association, the William D. Browning Federal Bar Association, and the Pima County Bar Association. Samet also served as co-chair of the United States District Court Gender Equality Task Force. Her service includes board membership with Casa de los Niños, Southern Arizona Children's Advocacy, Tucson Homeless Connect, and the Invisible Theater. Samet is currently the president of the Casa de los Niños Foundation Board. Samet has been recognized for lifelong dedication to the promotion of women in the legal profession by receiving the Sarah Hearn Soren Award from the Arizona Women's Lawyers Association and the Alice Truman Award from the Southern Arizona chapter of AWLA. Samet also received the Fred K. Award from the Federal Bar Association, the Juan Medrano Public Service Award from the Pima County Bar Association, the Serapis Award for advancing the status of women, the YWCA Women on the Move Award, and the Founders Award from the Greater Tucson Leadership. Wow. So it's truly my pleasure to now have Dee-Dee come forward and for the presentation.
As everyone knows, I'm born, so you're gonna have to listen. So, and this will be short and sweet, kind of like me. I want to law school for this honor today. Modesty prevails for once, and this is not right, I say. There are certainly others who deserve this more than I do. Too many Judge Collins and Justice Gordon are just a few. To some of you, I've asked for money or just for your time to help various organizations, and you've been very kind. Or there are days I may volunteer you to help, whether you like it or not, or just to talk to you and gossip. Well, I do that a lot. It's wonderful, and I will display it with pride. And remember, some of the things said about me were by people who lied. I owe this award to you, my friends, one and all. And please, don't forget this day when you get my next call. I'm close to ending this feeble attempt at some prose. From my head to my toes. I'm ready to go. I may be short, but just for show. Do a lot for your community and help others. And ease their path. Let's talk about you. He was in his service with friends, and we helped start the American Legion together. And Sam was someone who was the downtown things for you all. I thank my family who is here, my grandchild who's taller than me and very good, Ellen, and Cindy, and all my friends. There's too many here to mention, and I really appreciate it. And thank you.
Well, congratulations to each of you, Dee-Dee, in your retelling of the lines of the poem you wrote for your husband reminded me, I grew up in Los Angeles and there were regularly earthquakes. And after one of the larger earthquakes, I went down to check on my parents and make sure they were all right. And they were laughing because after the earthquake, my father had turned to my mother and said, "Did the earth move for you too?" That spirit, I'm actually told, and this is for real, that it is Love Your Lawyer Day. A holiday of unknown provenance, and no, Teresa, let's not investigate the true history of this one. I looked online to learn a little bit about the holiday, and it said two things. One is that we should thank a lawyer, and I think the lawyers we've been celebrating tonight are deserving of our deepest thanks. And the second is it says, at least go a day without telling a lawyer joke. And is I think the role of lawyers in our society and the honor of our profession has only been highlighted and enhanced in recent years. I don't know about all of you. I couldn't begin to speak for you, but I haven't heard anyone tell a lawyer joke for longer than I can remember. And I think the recognition of the profession and what it means to pursue justice and represent people is so profound. And again, I think widely understood. Appreciate our lifetime winners, family members coming forward so that we can take pictures here. And with that, as always, thank you and bear down.